Hello, Mrs. Fawns here. I'm going to be reading with you this passage, The Great Depression. And this is our third passage that we have been reading. The past couple of weeks, we had a couple of fiction passages, the best part, and then my dog didn't eat my homework. So this week is going to be a little different. It's a nonfiction passage, and it's called The Great Depression. Hopefully, you have a copy of this so you can follow along and read with me. And if not, that's okay. You can still follow along with me. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty, so you'll be looking at me and not the paper as I read. I also wanted to make note about this photograph. I think it's a really powerful photograph because if you don't know anything about the Great Depression, based on this picture and this woman and these two children, you can see that it was not a good, happy time for anybody. So I think that even if you don't know anything about the Great Depression and that part of our history, you can use your inferencing skills and use this photograph to kind of tell a little bit about the mood or the tone of this topic, the Great Depression. Okay, so I'm going to read along, and you can follow along with me, or you can read on your own. Also, you can come back to this video anytime as you do your questions. I was going to look at those before we start. I will not be going over the questions today like we had been doing, but I know that you'll be home for 3 days. So Blue Group, you'll be home on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So you don't have to look at these days of the week. Just take care of this page. How you can do that in one sitting, or you can do it over a couple of or 2 or 3 days if you need to. And Red Group, I know you'll be home Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So the same thing. You can use these dates as guides or the days of the week, but you don't have to. Just as long as you get this page done. And if you have any trouble, because I'm not going to be doing it with you, just do the best that you can, okay? As always, if you have questions, we'll make sure that you understand and that this is meaningful to you. Okay, so the Great Depression. Here we go. The Great Depression was a time of widespread suffering and financial hardship. Between 1929 and 1939, millions of Americans lost their jobs and their savings. Without income or money, many also lost their homes. The stock market crash in October of 1929 is commonly viewed as the start of the Great Depression. Many people had invested their money in the stock market hoping to get rich. They'd buy stocks at one price and then sell them for more than they'd paid. For years, this strategy worked. But in October of 1929, a large number of stocks from top American companies all got sold off at the same time. When people saw this, they took it as a sign that they better start selling off their stocks as well. Suddenly, everyone was selling and few were buying. Not only couldn't stocks be sold for a profit, they couldn't be sold for the price they'd been bought for. Investors panicked. They started selling off their stock for anything they could get. Think of it like a reverse auction. Instead of people bidding more and more for what you're selling, you are willing to accept less and less just to get it sold. Even people who hadn't invested in the stock market began to panic. If millionaire investors could lose their fortunes, average Americans feared the money in their banks could disappear too. People lined up to withdraw their money from their banks. But a bank isn't like a safe. Banks only keep a limited amount of the money deposited into them. The rest they invest or loan to other people to buy things like homes and stocks. When lots of customers want to withdraw their money at the same time, the bank doesn't have enough. Banks tried to collect back the money they had loaned, but if people had borrowed that money to buy stock and they couldn't sell their stock, that loan couldn't get repaid. Thousands of banks lost money and went out of business. People who had their life savings in these banks never got their money. The prices of products from groceries to automobiles dropped. And on the surface, this sounds good because now everything is more affordable. However, when stores sell their items for less, they now have less to pay their employees. Many times, employees would either lose their jobs or take a large cut in pay. These employees then had less money to spend at other stores. They didn't have enough money to pay their bills or pay back their loans. Daily life was a struggle for millions of Americans. Many blamed President Herbert Hoover for the country's poverty, unemployment, hunger, and homelessness. In 1933, they voted out Herbert Hoover and elected a new president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Thousands of everyday people, including children, wrote to him and First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt asking for help, and they finally got it. All right, that finishes our passage about the Great Depression. Good luck on your questions. Let me know if you need anything, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.